Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you all are here today. Welcome today for the Mental Health KC webinar. Sleep is your superpower. I'm Jamie. I am with Metro Council, and I'm so glad you guys are here today. So a couple things just to kind of note. First of all, you're going to notice that we use Zoom webinars. So what that means is you're only able to see the presenter and not yourself. But you are able to communicate through the chat or so chat box or the Q&A. And then at the end of our time together, I will put a link and a password, and then you will be able to get your certificate of attendance. That's available at the end of the webinar. However, I'm going to ask that you not try to get the certificate of attendance at the very end of the webinar, that you wait a little bit. What tends to happen is when we have a lot of people trying to get that certificate of attendance all at once, it kind of crashes the site a bit. And so then no one is able to get it. So what I'm going to ask for all of you to please do is to save that link and save the password and then try to get it I don't know, anywhere, like anytime this afternoon, and it should work. So I will tell you, I actually went on it earlier just to make sure everything works on it. It's just when a lot of people try to get it all at once, it makes it so that no one can get it. So just little FYI, just to know about the certificate of attendance, because we have that question now that our webinars have grown, which is phenomenal. But just letting you know that that tends to happen. So I'm going to say a little bit about Metro Council and about some things we have coming up, and then I'm going to introduce Michelle. So, as I said, I'm with Metro Council. We represent the public mental health system in the Kansas City metro area. So, our official name is Metropolitan Council of Community Mental Health Centers. And with that, we include University Health Behavioral Health, Comprehensive Mental Health, Rediscover Mental Health, Beacon Mental Health, Swope Health, Wyandotte Behavioral Network, Johnson County Mental Health Center, Center for Behavioral Medicine, and Mental Health America of the Heartland. And so we represent 9 different organizations in the Kansas City Metro, and we provide opportunities for training, for education, for awareness around mental health, both to those in the field and those outside the field. And a couple things that we have coming up, I want to let you all know about, and hopefully it's already on everybody's calendars, but in case it's not, the first thing is we're having our first ever fundraiser for Metro Council, and it is April 23rd. So Thursday, April 23rd, doors open at 6 and the show starts at 7. It's Comedy for a Cause. So we are actually partnering with Clint's Comedy Club along with two nationally known comedians actually. And we would love if you guys could come. The tickets are only $25, which, if any, for those of you that have been to comedy clubs, you know that tickets are like fairly $25. So we really hope that you all can come, support us, and help us fundraise. So the first thing I'm going to do is put that in the chat. So that way you all can have access to our Comedy for a Cause night. Okay. And then the second thing is that we have our mental health KC conference coming up. And so very excited. It is May 28th and 29th at Johnson County Community College. So 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Thursday, May 28th, and then 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Friday, May 29th. We know people like their Friday afternoons. So we have half day. And we have two national keynote speakers. Really excited for them. We have over 80 breakout sessions and over 100 speakers. Actually, Michelle is one of our speakers. And we are so excited for it. We really hope all of you guys will come. We try to make it as affordable as possible. So with that, the conference, the early bird special until May 10th is $60 for the whole thing. And that includes lunch, snacks, certificate of attendance. If you want pre-approved CEUs, it is $30 more, but then you get those pre-approved CEUs and you don't have to worry about it. Um, but we really hope that you all can come. It'll be incredible. There's also still sponsorship opportunities in case anybody is interested in being a sponsor for it. But I'm going to put the link in here because registration is live. And we really hope that you all can come. Okay. So with that, I'm going to introduce Michelle. As I said, Michelle's actually one of our speakers for the conference. But let me give you a little info about Michelle, and then Michelle can start her. I'm really looking forward to her incredible webinar. So, Michelle is a certified nurse leader and health coach. Michelle's over 30 years of experience in nursing, psychology, and wellness, and she combines her love of health and education to assist people in achieving their goals related to health and happiness. And she currently serves as the Community Outreach Program Manager at Children's Mercy. So, with that, I am so excited to introduce Michelle. A quick little thing, we always do this for our webinars, just a quick little disclaimer is that, the views and opinions of this webinar don't necessarily reflect those of Metro Council, but we are so excited for this. So with that, here's Michelle.
All right. Thank you so much, Jamie. I am thrilled to be here. This is a topic that I am so passionate about. And like most good topics that we talk about in presentations, it came from my own desire to clean up my sleep hygiene. I was a horrible sleeper. And I dove into this research. And what we're going to talk about today is really a huge research project that I did in collaboration with Dr. Todd Hill, a psychiatrist, and the late Stephen Shorten, a neurologist. So we pulled data. We're all just really wanting to see what the science says is the important things about what happens when we sleep and then how we can improve our sleep. So we pulled over 450 research studies and we threw out any research study that had a small n, like there was only 10 people in the study, or if there was the funding for the study came from a drug company, we threw it out. And what we're going to talk about today is the impact of not getting sleep on what it does to your body and how important sleep is. We're going to talk about all the processes that occur. I in the past have thought about sleep as almost this like annoying thing, that I had to do. I'm ADD on the spectrum, unmedicated, lots of energy, you don't really do anything while you're sleeping is my thought process previously. But this is actually one of the most biologically important experiences that we have. And so we're going to talk about how important that is. And then we're going to move to the top 10 things that science says can improve your sleep. And so it has to show up in at least 30 studies for me to talk about it. And we're going to go through each of those and kind of unpack those things that you can do to improve your sleep cycle. So, like I said, I often thought that like sleep was kind of this annoying thing, but it's not. It is absolutely a superpower. And what happens is that when you're sleeping, let me get my slides to slide over here. When you're sleeping, there is a menagerie of things that happen. But you spend 32 years of your sleep, 32 years of your life sleeping if you live to be 90. So this is a large portion of your period of life, right? And so if you talk about sleep, you want to talk about the brain first, because if sleep is your superpower, then the brain is absolutely your Swiss Army knife. This guy, he only weighs 3 pounds. He's made up of 75% water, which means just even a 2% drop in hydration can impair your cognitive performance. So a meme or a TikTok that said like, you have a headache, drink some water. You want to cry, drink some water. You're tired, drink some water. Yes, those are absolutely the solution and can absolutely help you. Your brain needs water. And so what happens is, this machine that we have up here, this computer takes up so much of our energy. 25% of our body's output of energy is burned in this wired little computer that we have up here. And so it's important to recognize a couple features. First and foremost, we have two brains, and I think people forget about that. During fetal development, that wad of tissue that becomes the brain goes up the spinal cord through that vagus nerve and becomes the brain. Well, part of that wad, this is a medical term, you can tell I'm a nurse, part of that wad stays back, and that becomes your gut. And so your gut and your brain tissue are the exact same tissue. And so it's important to trust your gut. Like if you have a gut instinct, I feel it in your body or in your gut, know that that is your brain and you're thinking there. But this guy also is so important in so many other features. Your gut is also where 95% of the serotonin in your body is made. That feel good hormone, it's manufactured in your gut. And so the brain tells it where to go and how to feel it. But if you don't have good biome in your gut, you're going to be affecting your ability to also be happy in your life. So many features that are important. So, I want to talk just a little bit about what happens when we are sleeping inside that brain. So, all of the organs in the body have two needs. Okay, they got two problems. Every single organ needs a blood supply, and we have that through our cardiovascular system. We've got blood vessels going to every nook and cranny in our body, giving the body the nutrients it needs to perform whatever function it's doing. The second need that every organ in our body has is to get rid of the waste that happens when our body uses that glucose or the nutrients that was delivered. There's always a waste product. And how the body solves that problem is through the lymphatic system. As you can see here, the lymphatic system is this additional system that runs throughout the body that is how we, through metabolic waste, get rid of all of the waste in our body. But look where there is no lymphatic system in that hard shell up there in the brain. And so, like we said, the brain is the most active computer. It has 25% of the waste in our body because it's always active doing all of these things for us. And so, how the heck does the body get rid of the waste of this highly active computer? Well, that's where sleep comes in. And it is absolutely one of like, I'm a repurposer. I love to thrift, love to, use things for like two or three different reasons, right? Or repurpose something that's getting old. Well, the body does that. The body does that with the blood vessels within the brain. It repurposes the blood vessels in the brain. And so we've got this clear fluid. It's called cerebral spinal fluid, and it cushions the brain. It delivers nutrients, and it is really vital to this removal of the waste. Okay. And so what happens, and I may be dating myself a little bit, but some of you may have seen a lava lamp in your life. And this is what it looks like under MRI when we're sleeping. The body repurposes the blood vessels that go to every nook and cranny. And on the outside of the blood vessels, that cerebral spinal fluid is pumped out, kind of looking like a lava lamp under MRI. It's absolutely beautiful, actually, to be honest with you. But that is the body's design solution to how to get rid of the waste that builds up in our brain throughout the day. And so that waste removal only occurs in a sleeping brain. And so that is one of the main functions of sleep, is that it is when our body is able to get rid of that waste that is built up in our body. And so I want to talk a little bit about the stages of sleep and talk about how we have a sleep drive to begin with, like why this happens. So there's four stages of our sleep. I'm not going to go into too much detail because this talk is really almost a 90-minute talk that we're slim shading down into an hour. And so to be mindful of that, I just want to touch on the high points. I used to think that you went to sleep and it was kind of this light sleep, and then you went to stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then you woke up and you were rested and it was all good. That is not how we sleep. We sleep in 90-minute segments called spindles, where our body goes through stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, back to stage 1 again. So it looks almost kind of like an EKG, if there's any of you in the audience that has seen an EKG before. And so stage 1 is kind of this first stage. It's like 2% of our sleep. It's very light. Muscles begin to relax, your breathing slows, your brain activity starts to slow down. And this is where your eyes start to roll side to side, just kind of that first stage. Second stage, makes up about 50% of our sleep cycle. And this is where our body really starts to regenerate and do a lot of that cleaning that we were talking about. Okay. This is 50% of our total sleep. Then stage three is your deep sleep or your delta sleep. This is like the physically restorative stage. This is kind of like bringing your body or your car or your body to a repair shop, and growth hormone is released in the body, and it kind of cleans up all those tissues and pumps up the immune system. And it's like taking your car to a shop and getting all those scratches and buffs, taken out, the dings and scratches taken out of your car. That's stage three. And then stage four is really kind of that mental restoration. This is that rapid eye movement sleep. This is where dreams happen. This is where your body is temporarily paralyzed so we don't act out our dreams. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So you have between 5 to 7 spindles, these sets, these 90-minute sets where you go in and out of stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so many times people will ask me, I wake up 3 times, in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I don't think I sleep very good. Well, if you go right back to sleep, the body is so smart. It wakes you up. You're able to sense the full bladder or hear that cat scratching at the door that wants to go out because they're nocturnal. This is from my own personal experience in your stage one when you're in that lighter zone of sleep. And so if you have that where you get up, you do the thing, go to the bathroom and get back in bed and you're able to fall back asleep, the quality of sleep you're getting is perfect. It is great. It is wonderful. Your body knows that you're going to wake up a couple times. It's getting back to sleep again is the big thing. So our sleep itself is driven by two systems it's important to understand these things. Sleep isn't just random. It's governed by like biological systems that kind of work together in this well-tuned orchestra, you could say. There's the sleep drive, right? Which is, kind of think of your sleep drive like your hunger drive. The longer you go without food, then the hungrier you get. Then you eat and it's satiated. Same with sleep. The longer you're awake, that stronger the urge to sleep happens. And that stronger urge comes from this waste product, the buildup of that waste product in our brain. Like we said, this brain is so busy doing things all day long, and that waste product builds up because we know it's only washed at night when you're sleeping. That waste product is called adenosine. So this is the byproduct of your cellular energy use. And as your brain burns the glucose for fuel, that adenosine builds up and it accumulates, and that makes you feel sleepier and sleepier off, in your day. Just a little kind of nerdy fact here, a little public service announcement. Caffeine is only one molecule off of adenosine. That's why caffeine keeps you awake. He sits inside because he almost matches it perfectly. That little spot where adenosine would be sitting and building up throughout the day to make you feel tired, that caffeine molecule sits in there and blocks the adenosine from building up, and that's why caffeine helps us stay awake during the day. And we'll talk a little bit more about sleep later or about caffeine later in the talk. But the second thing that drives your sleep is your circadian rhythm or your internal clock. We all have this natural ability or natural kind of desire to sleep at night and wake up in the morning without an alarm. Well, what happens is this circadian rhythm is influenced by light exposure. We're going to talk more about how that affects your sleep, your internal melatonin production, and your core body temperature. Those three things control your circadian rhythm that drives your internal clock for sleeping. Every night, around 9 to 10 p.m., your body core temperature will drop between 1 to 3 degrees. That drop in core body temperature is the second thing that signals for you to go to bed. And so I got really nerded out about my sleep, and I was checking my temperature every night, and I typically drop my body core temperature around 9:30. And so I want to make sure that I'm in my pathway of getting myself into bed and work with my body when my core body temperature. I want to be ready to go and drift right off to sleep. Your core body temperature also kind of interestingly drops again during the day between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And a lot of times people will say, oh, I just ate lunch. I'm so tired, this, that, and the other. And it has nothing to do with your food. Yes, your food, your blood supply does go to your stomach after you've eaten to digest your food. But one of the big things that happens between 1 and 2 is that body core temperature drops and it signals to your body you need a rest. And some cultures actually lean into this drop in core temperature midday and they use it kind of as a siesta. I have personally advocated at the hospitals that I've worked at to have like a little nap time between 1 and 2. So far, I haven't got that passed, but feel free to take that to your place of work or business and try to get that going because your body needs a 20-minute nap. It's so powerful and so beneficial. And we'll talk a little bit more about napping as we get into the conversation. So two things that control your sleep and drive it: that circadian rhythm, what is your drop in core temperature, how much light exposure you've had, your internal melatonin production, and then that buildup of adenosine throughout the day. That's what drives your sleep. And I think, it's really easiest to describe how sleep affects you by talking about what happens when we don't get a good night's sleep. And so I'm going to go through like 6 or 7 body systems that are affected by sleep. And then we're going to dive into those top 10 things that you can do to improve your sleep. Okay. And so, one of the things that absolutely shows up as a problem is night shift. World Health Organization has identified night shift as a probable carcinogen because people that work the night shift are 7 times more likely to develop cancer. This is huge, a huge body of data. We need night shift workers, right? And unfortunately, what happens is they never get to the good quality of sleep unless they really work at it. And so, the body will do a couple really scary things. The body will go into kind of like an emergency shutdown. I don't know if you've ever been driving a vehicle late at night and you're super tired and you almost fall asleep. It will just absolutely go into shutdown mode. And it causes about 100,000 car accidents a year. And then sometimes you may be in the middle of a meeting, typically between 1 and 2 in the afternoon, and you want to nod off. Your body wants to indulge in sleep. But one of the problems is night shift. And so people that work the night shift really need to work hard at their sleep hygiene. And some of the things that I'm going to talk about can help improve that sleep hygiene. The second area that is absolutely affected is your memory. Okay, so there's 3 things. We've all heard this, right? Like get a good night's sleep before you take a test. Well, it turns out that science backs this up. Whether you're cramming for an exam, trying to learn the guitar, training for a sport, whatever it is, your brain is a memory amplifier. 3 ways, okay? First, sleep prepares your brain to learn. Think of your brain like a sponge. And if you don't get a good night's sleep before you need to learn something the next day, it's like you haven't wrung it out and you're trying to wipe the counter off with this like soggy, waterlogged sponge, right? But sleep squeezes it, wrings it out, and gets it ready to soak up new information. That's one of the first things that sleep does for learning. The second thing that sleep does for learning is it consolidates. So sleep actually acts like a save button, okay, inside your brain. You've got a hippocampus that sits on the left and the right side. Think of this as like your email inbox, okay? You go about your day, your hippocampus has got all these kind of things happening, go into the inbox, and it temporarily holds all the actions and things you see. And when you go to sleep, the cortex, another section of your brain, basically acts like a hard drive and it stores those memories and drops them from the hippocampus into that cortex. It's like transferring the files to a USB stick in your computer. That happens only when you're sleeping. We only consolidate and learn when we're sleeping. The third thing that showed up in over 30 studies, and I love these studies, they were so well done. Matt Walker is a sleep researcher. He did a great study looking at replay and integration of thoughts while sleeping. So when you're sleeping, it replays your actions and things that you learned and saw throughout the day. And one of the studies that I absolutely loved was scientists recording rats learning a maze. And the researchers took a break. And when they took a break to eat their lunch, the mice, the rats, went to sleep. And when they were sleeping, they replayed that maze 10 times faster in their brain while they were sleeping. So we've got this replay skill that happens when we're sleeping, and it's fast. Whatever we see during the day is replayed multiple times at night, and so we can learn while we're sleeping. But Matt Walker, like I said, he also did a really great study that I love. Two groups, one group kept them up all night, the other group got a good night's sleep, and then the next day the groups tried to learn new facts while undergoing MRI, and the results were absolutely astounding. Not 20, not 30, but a 40% deficiency in memory formation in the group that did not get any sleep. So, this is the difference between taking a test and passing it and taking a test and failing it. So, sleep isn't just rest, it is mental rehearsal, it is memory storage, it's creative problem solving. Many people say that when they wake up in the morning, they get in the shower, they come up with solutions to like almost impenetrable problems that they've been having. And it's because when you're sleeping, you're thinking and you're putting and correlating different things together and learning to solve problems while you're sleeping. So, sleep is so important. Another way that sleep shows up as a valuable thing is in your cardiovascular system. So there is a study done twice a year with 1 billion people, and it's called daylight savings time. Okay. And every year, this data is on the World Health Organization website. Every year, when you lose 1 hour of sleep, there is a 24% increase in heart attacks the following day with the loss of just 1 hour of sleep. And when we gain 1 hour of sleep, there is a 21% decrease in heart attacks from that. And so the World Health Organization actually has an initiative going trying to get rid of daylight savings because this data doesn't just show up in cardiovascular events, it shows up in suicides, increase and decrease with the hour gain and the hour loss, and also with car crashes. Huge bodies of data, right? Because billions of people, have this, happen to them where they lose the hour or gain an hour. So really interesting body of science out there if you want to review that further. Additionally, sleep affects your reproductive health, okay? It's not just about rest, it is a biological reset of your reproductive system. And both men and women experience hormonal disruptions when their sleep is cut short. And so, men, this is when you make your testosterone when you're sleeping. And so, if you have less than 5 hours of sleep a night consistently for 1 week, science says that you can lose 15% drop in your testosterone level. That's significant. That is the equivalent of aging 10 to 15 years. And for women, not only does it affect your testosterone and your other hormones, but there is also another hormone called HPA. And you have excessive amounts of HPA when you don't get good sleep. It's not cleared from your body, and it is linked strongly to early pregnancy loss. And so if you know somebody that is trying to get pregnant, right? A young nurse that works the night shift, talk to her about her sleep cycle because it could be affecting her ability, to make a baby, her fertility, right? And so really, really important work there. And I could do a whole nother talk about hormones and sleep. It's absolutely fascinating. And then two more things I want to talk about. One, sleep is actually tied to weight gain as well. Your body has these silent signals inside of it where we control different hormones. And the two hormones that really come into play here are called ghrelin and leptin. I think of like a Steven Spielberg movie like Gremlins or something. But ghrelin is the hormone that is tied to your hunger, right? And so if you have high ghrelin hormone, you're hungry all the time, right? And then if you have low leptin, that's the hormone that gives you that feeling of fullness. And over 30 studies showed that with the disruption in your sleep cycle, that next day, your ghrelin, your hunger hormone skyrockets, and your leptin hormone, that fullness hormone, plummets. And you may have felt that, right? You, like on a Saturday night, you stay out to like 1 a.m. or something absolutely wild. You don't get a good night's sleep. And that next day, you could absolutely eat anything that's not nailed down. And so, when I think about it, it's my ice cream that I eat every night is probably not helping the situation, but it's something to maybe think about. This could be the one thing that stops you from losing maybe that extra 5 pounds, right? Because if your ghrelin and leptin are not in control, your brain is going to move to crave things for energy quickly, and it's going to want sugar, fats, and carbs, right? And so your willpower will be running on fumes. And so think about that if that's something that you're working on. About one of the benefits for sleep is it could help regulate your feeling of fullness and hunger. And then additionally, sleep is first aid for your feelings. We're talking about mental health. I love this group and was so excited to be able to share it because sleep isn't just rest, it's emotional maintenance. Every night, our brain recalibrates its emotional control center so you can stay balanced and resilient and in control. And one of the studies that we reviewed was an Oxford University study that used MRI scans to explore how sleep affects your emotional reactivity. Two groups of healthy adults, one got a good night's sleep, the other one did not. Put them in an MRI, showed them a video of something bad happening to a child, right? And that group that got a full night's sleep, you see the CEO of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, he comes to life and he sends a message to the amygdala, the emotional control center in your brain. And so if you got a good night's sleep, prefrontal cortex, the boss, sends a message. Oh, wow, that frustrates us, that angers us, seeing this video, but in normal respects. The second group that didn't get any sleep whatsoever, under MRI, when they watch that video of something bad happening to a child, that prefrontal cortex says nothing. Your boss is over playing at the water fountain. He's not doing anything. No communication to the amygdala. And so the amygdala has this loud, inappropriate response to watching this video. It's like a fire inside your brain. And so if you need to have a difficult conversation with somebody, whether it's your child, your leader, your I don't know who it is, your partner, right? Anybody, your neighbor, make sure you get a good night's sleep because it regulates your emotional control center, and getting a good night's sleep brings that prefrontal cortex online so it can give you the emotional intelligence and the amygdala control that it needs to not let your emotions get out of wire when you're trying to have these difficult conversations. So really a key thing there. And then lastly, I know I'm going through these fast, but they're so important. I think it's just so vital to understand all the things that sleep affects in your body. It also affects your immune system. Okay. So sleep is not just rest, it's immune defense. At the heart of this defense system in our body are these things called natural killer T cells. These guys are like elite immune assassins in your body. You want like a whole bunch of them, right? They're like the body's secret service. They're trained to detect and destroy dangerous intruders, like viruses or even cancerous tumors. Well, what happens when you don't get a good night's sleep? 30 studies showed that it absolutely impacts your immune system. Okay. In one study, participants were restricted to just 4 hours of sleep for one single night. Not 50, not 60, 70% drop in natural killer T cell activity. That's not a dip. That is a crash in your immune surveillance. And this may have happened to you, right? Like my daughter got married and we were all like going, and staying up late and doing all this stuff. And it was stressful. And right after her wedding, I got sick. And that may have, happened to you as well. But this is one of the things that also, is so important to recognize because the level of immune suppression in your body is also linked to three types of cancer: bowel cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer. And so getting a good night of sleep absolutely affects your immune system as well. So I know those are fast and furious, and we could probably have individual talks about each and every one of those. But I think it's important to talk about, and so you can understand how important that is. And so I know what you're thinking. You're like, holy heck, Michelle, I'm so scared. Am I getting a good night's sleep? Well, great news. this is absolutely something that you can rectify yourself. And so sleep deprivation isn't always obvious. You don't need to be nodding off mid sentence to be sleep deprived. In fact, many people, are sleep deprived, but they don't notice it. So it really is easy to tell if you wake up feeling rested or groggy, or if you wake up naturally, or your coworkers saying, "Ooh, grumpy bear," right in the morning, or "You look tired." Are you okay? Those types of things are all probably indicators that you might not be getting a good night's sleep. But what I want to dive into now is really the book and the science that you can move forward with. So, like I said, Dr. Hill and Dr. Shorten and I, we did this huge evidence based review of things that you can do to improve your sleep hygiene. And so these are the top 10, but I want to kind of unpack and give you kind of the reasoning behind and how it affects it. I think understanding the why is so important. But one of the biggest things that you can do to improve your sleep is light up in the morning. And I know that sounds crazy. You think you're preparing for sleep at night? Getting light on the whites of your eyes right in the morning as you awaken will set that circadian rhythm. Remember, we said that your circadian rhythm, that drive for sleep, is controlled by your mood, your lights on your eyes, which is your metabolic functioning to make melatonin in your body, and then your core body temperature. So I solved this problem because I kind of have an issue with depression in the winter too when I don't get light on my face. I bought a little light on Amazon, and I don't get any money for this. There's lots of them out there in the market. The one I bought is called a Happy Light, and it was, I think, $20. And I keep it on my bathroom counter. And when I go in the morning, it's the first thing I do. I turn on the light to get ready. I turn on that little light, and it's just sitting right there on the counter. And as I do my hygiene, I have my whites of my eyes get at least 10 minutes of exposure. Helps my melatonin production, helps my vitamin D production, and helps set that schedule that my body needs for the circadian rhythm to get a good night's sleep. That's the first thing you can do. Second thing, regularity is king. Go to bed and wake up at the same time, even on the weekends. This is going to anchor your circadian rhythm and improve your sweet sleep quantity and quality as well. Okay. And I know it's hard. I sometimes say no to social engagements just because I am so passionate about my sleep hygiene. But it is, in over 30 studies, something that statistically impacts your sleep hygiene and your sleep quality. The third thing that is important to do is move your body. And you'll be happy to know that some of the research articles only had 10 minutes of exercise, and just 10 minutes of movement can improve your sleep. You do want to be careful that you don't exercise a vigorous exercise within 2 hours of your bedtime. Sometimes around 9 o'clock, I'm like, oh, I should exercise. And then I'm like, oh, but it's too close to bed. I don't have time. But, you can use that excuse how you want to as well. But movement and exercise will absolutely help your sleep. Okay. The fourth thing is lots of research has been done to help mimic that drop in core body temperature, and you want it to be cold. The ideal sleep temperature, according to science, is 65 degrees. It's a little chilly. But now that I have recognized the value that it does and what it's doing to my body, I'm used to the cold, and I like it now. And I kind of stick my foot out. A lot of people do that, kind of get that cooler feeling. But cool is the right way to go for your sleep. Another thing, I think it's the fourth thing that you want to do, is you want to block light. Okay. And so there's been a lot of talk about, can I watch TV? Can I read a book on my Kindle? Can I look at my phone? Absolutely yes. If you have a blue light suppression screen on there. So if you have a night screen on your television, a lot of the new ones have new TVs have a setting. It's like a night vision screen. You want there to be 400 nanometers or less of blue light hitting your eyes, because that shuts down your melatonin faucet. And so we don't want that to happen. We want to use that natural hormone to help us sleep. And so yes, you can look at your different devices, but you want it to be a dimmer light. Okay. So make sure you do that. And that feeds into Another thing that we found in over 30 studies. It's funny because I've got grandkids, and when I go to put them to bed when they're spending the night at my house, I turn down the lights, we do a nice quiet bath, we read a book, we got our jammies, we do all this stuff. But then when I go to bed, I basically sit on the couch and watch true crime and eat Cheez-Its, and then just go into the room and expect to fall asleep. We need the same thing. We need that calming routine. And so, whether that's stretching, meditation, deep breathing exercises, all of them show up in over 30 studies to help get you into that sleep cycle and right into that 1, 2, 3, 4, that good spindle that you need right away. And so, use a routine. One of the most researched breathing techniques that is out there that can help you with your sleep is the 4-7-8 breathing box, where you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, you go out for 8. And so it's you gotta get used to it. And we'll talk about some other things that you can do to help get yourself back into sleep. But we need a calm routine in order to get ourselves into that sleep cycle mode. And then another thing that science shows is write it down. Many people kind of already do this. Maybe they have a notepad or their bedside table, but neuroplasticity is strong, people. You lay there and you think about, oh, I need to get the chicken out tomorrow morning for the dinner or whatever it is, right? Write those things down. That is evidence based to help you relax, help break that neuro cycle of ruminated thoughts that can sometimes occur. Sometimes there was over 15 studies that were really focused on people that had high stress, right? So ruminating thoughts while they're lying in bed. And as you can tell, I'm a fast thinker, fast talker. It's not any different when I'm laying in bed. I also am like a little computer screen. And so I have found, and evidence backs this, that before I'm going to go to sleep, I write down some of those things are at top of mind, right? Do I ever do anything with that piece of paper? No. It's like a release mechanism that gets it out of this and allows me to do what I need to do. Another thing that showed up in the science is avoid a clock. If you have a clock in your bedroom, turn it the other way. If you wake up at 3 in the morning, don't look at your phone and see what time it is, because what happens is you immediately go into this, oh, it's 3:33. If I go to sleep right now, I have 3 hours and 22 minutes to sleep. And that little pathway will wake you up. And so avoid clocks, trust your alarm, and use your alarm. Don't look and see what time it is. Just use your calm breathing to get yourself back to sleep. We're going to talk about caffeine in another whole slide. She's so great. She gets to have her own designated slide. So we do want to limit the amount of caffeine at certain times during the day. And then we talked a little bit about naps, but naps are great, but it has to be 20 minutes. And the best time to take a nap is between that 1 and 2 o'clock p.m. You could start checking your temperature and see when your temperature drops, and kind of, if you have the bandwidth to be able to use that tool of your body temperature dropping, you could use that as your 20-minute nap time. Set an alarm. Remember, we looked at those 4 stages of sleep: 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 3 is that mental rest, physical rest. You don't want to wake up during those sections of your sleep spindle, because if you do, you'll wake up groggy, disassociated, maybe a grumpy bear. Nobody wants to do that. So you want to just get into your stage 1 and 2. And so 20 minutes allows for that. And that will burn off some of that adenosine. If you travel for work or you're going somewhere where there's a time change difference, Dr. Shorten taught me this really great hack where you take 6 ounces of coffee, no cream, no sugar, add a couple ice cubes in it so it's cold, slam that, just 6 ounces. Down you go, set the alarm, lay down for a 20-minute nap. That washes some of the adenosine out of your brain, and then that caffeine will block the rest of the adenosine. So my partner is from Germany, and we travel, to Europe quite often. Well, that's a 7-hour, 6-hour time difference, different places. And I'll do that when we go over there to get my body reacclimated back to that time schedule, get a little sleep so I'm not walking around like a zombie. And so those are the top 10 things. I can absolutely make sure that gets sent out to you guys, and you can have those at top of mind. But we're going to talk a little bit more about some of those in detail. But I want to get through the rest of this. Most importantly, I want to talk about caffeine. This sneaky little stimulant, right, has two hidden features that I want to remind everybody about. First of all, it has a half life of 5 to 6 hours. So that means caffeine lingers in your body and is blocking that adenosine from building up and you feeling tired for 5 to 6 hours. So if you consume 100 milligrams of caffeine at like 2 p.m., you still have 50 milligrams of caffeine in your body at like 7 or 8 p.m. You still have 25 milligrams by 1 or 2 a.m. So you want to make sure that you drink decaffeinated coffee. You're not drinking those, energy drinks and stuff after, I say usually lunchtime, 1 to 2 p.m., in order to really let your body do the natural things that it needs to do. The second hidden feature about caffeine is it disrupts your stage 3 sleep, which is that mental restoration sleep. So, perfect example is my great grandmother. She loved to drink a cup of coffee every night with dinner, and she went to sleep fine. She stayed asleep fine. So, she was like, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, Grandma, do you wake up feeling rested? Oh, good God, no, I'm exhausted. She couldn't correlate the fact that she drank the caffeine and she went to sleep fine. She stayed asleep fine, but it's affecting the quality of your stage 3 sleep, that sleep that allows you to wake up and feel like, yes, I am going to take the day on. And so just be mindful of those two hidden features that caffeine has when you're thinking about your sleep and trying to make some quick changes to improve it. Okay. I know it's a popular drug, that's for sure. And I've got just a couple more slides that are absolutely evidence based tips for you to use. So, first and foremost, you want to make sure that there could be a medical issue on why you're not getting a good night's sleep. It could be restless legs, it could be low blood sugar, it could be these crazy hormones that are happening to us. It could be a numerous amount of things. It could be sleep apnea. And just another public service announcement. I don't know if many of you have seen the study done by Neurology Today. It was a huge study with sleep apnea patients. Very simply done study. Everybody had sleep apnea. This body of the research addressed the sleep apnea. This did not. This body did not. Guess what? 7 years it takes off of your life. Direct correlation to mortality, sleep apnea has. The people that did not address their sleep apnea died 7 years earlier than the group that addressed their sleep apnea. So, public service announcement, anybody with has sleep apnea or they got a CPAP machine that's just collecting dust, there are so many alternatives out there. There's nose pillows, there's surgery, there's an implantable device, and make sure that you address that sleep apnea. But there is other things that you can do if you can't sleep. One of those things is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI. And most licensed practice counselors can be certified in this area. And I know there are people that practice in the Kansas City area and do this. If you just Google cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, and you can find some therapists that do it. It is the gold standard treatment for chronic sleep issues. It's typically like 6 sessions. Blue Cross and Blue Shield covers it. I know my sister has Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and she used this. She had a lot of sleep issues, but 75% of the people report significant improvement. So if you've got a big issue with sleep, CBT treatments may be one of the things that you want to make sure that you address. And then the other things that I want to talk about just really showed up as periphery in the research that we did. Number one, if you're awake in bed for more than 20 minutes awake, get up, go do something else relaxing in another room. This prevents your brain from associating your bed with wakefulness, right? And then just return to your bed when you're sleepy. You wouldn't sit at the dinner table for an hour and wait to get hungry. Why lay in bed for an hour and wait to get sleepy, right? And so some of the things you can do are do those controlled breathing exercises, that 4-7-8 breathing. Like I said, you inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Repeat that 4 to 8 cycles. The research also showed that progressive muscle relaxation can be beneficial, where you tense all the muscles in your body and release those muscles while breathing slowly. Meditation, mindfulness can also help you focus on the present moment, without judgment, and kind of help get you relaxed. There is an app called the Calm app. There is a free version of it. I have paid for it. There is a family version. I think it's $59, but you can share it with 5 people, which is like ching, cost effective. So I've shared it with my kids and my partner. But that Calm app has nature sounds, ESMR, it's got white noise, it's got people reading you bedtime stories, guided meditations, educational lessons by like Jay Shetty and other experts. And so that Calm app is absolutely great. Um, and then there is some new body of evidence coming out, but I didn't find 30 studies, so I can't put it in the 30 studies box. But sound machines or some sort of consistent background noise, a fan, also does show up, but just not in 30 studies yet. But more people will do research and we'll figure that out. And aromatherapy also showed up in a periphery of the science. Lavender, vanilla, and something called ylang ylang can help promote relaxation and help you with your sleep. There's a third thing that I want to talk about that is kind of newer, and it's a behavior that you can do when you're laying in bed trying to sleep. My easiest way to tell you how to do this is just Google how you simulate rapid eye movement sleep, because me explaining it to you is hard to do. But you lay with your eyes closed, and when your eye is doing rapid eye movement in stage 4 of your sleep, how it is it goes from the inner corner of your eye around the outside of your eye back to that inner corner and back the other way. So it's doing like this C. And so what you do is you lay quietly and close your eyes and you trace inside and look from the inside up, upper corner around the outside and back again. And I kid you not, I have never done this and not gotten back to sleep. It has absolutely been a hack for me that has worked. There hasn't been a lot of research on it, so it's not included in that top 10. But I think there's some validity to it, and I'm trying to get some scientists to do some research on it to create that validity as well. So those are some things that you can do if you can't sleep. I do want to talk just a little bit about medications and supplements. I know we're nearing kind of the end of our time together, but there is some really important messaging that I need to do. So first and foremost, if you haven't Googled how bad Benadryl every night for you is, please look that up. There is a huge body of science that shows that when you walk down the sleep aid aisle, basically any of those are primarily Benadryl. It's like Tylenol PM has got Benadryl, Advil PM is Benadryl. And so it's everywhere. And so many people are taking it. But what the research shows is that it actually, if you take it every night, you can mimic Alzheimer's disease with this. And so Benadryl is an antihistamine. It blocks acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is absolutely critical for memory, attention, learning, balance. And so people that take it every day are seen to have a cognitive decline and dementia. So if you have got an elderly person in your family that lives in an assisted living or some sort of nursing home, look at their medication list and ask that Benadryl be removed from it, because the number one side effect of Benadryl is it makes you sleepy, and they often use it in nursing homes to help keep the patients quiet at night and rested. But then the next day they may call you and say, well, grandma's kind of doing some Alzheimer's behaviors and this, that, and the other. And it could very well be that Benadryl. So absolutely look into the Benadryl. Melatonin. Melatonin is something we make naturally in our bodies. Science shows it's really good for 2 groups. People over the age of 50, your melatonin production just slows. And people on the spectrum. So people that are on the spectrum, they have problems with getting rid of that waste in the brain. Melatonin can help clear up that sleep cycle and help there. But you do want to be mindful that melatonin is not FDA approved. We did a little research study where we took basically every brand of melatonin we could find at Target, Walmart, CVS, everything, and we tested to see how much melatonin milligrams were in the pill. Not one label matched the amount of melatonin that it said on the label with what was in the pill. And so you want to be mindful of that. It's just not FDA monitored or approved, but it does help for certain people. And so melatonin, I can talk more about that if you guys need me to answer questions about it. The other thing I want to kind of do a little warning about is Ambien. Ambien is a wonderful sleep medication, but the number one side effect of Ambien is in your stage 4 of sleep, when you are paralyzed naturally, so you don't act out your dreams, Ambien side effect is you're not paralyzed. And so many people, when they take Ambien for sleep, do some silly things that, you're kind of like, what the heck? This is what Tiger Woods said was the reason why he cheated on his wife. I don't know if I'd go that far, but he did say that he had taken Ambien, and he did some behaviors that he wouldn't have done if he was awake. And so if you take Ambien or somebody else, just be mindful of that. So keeping that person safe and recognizing if they're up, eating 85 popsicles out of the freezer, that you may want to, get them to bed. So there are also supplements that you can take to help your sleep. And so Dr. Shorten and Dr. Hill both think that all of these are important. This isn't just coming from me. We did some research about them. So B6 can help your sleep. It converts tryptophan, which is also in turkey, right? Tryptophan is the building blocks for serotonin, which is the building blocks for melatonin. So that's why after you eat turkey on Thanksgiving Day, that tryptophan gets transferred into serotonin, which makes melatonin, and you get sleepy and you want to sleep on the chair. Well, B6 is the same way. If you don't want to pop a pill of B6, you can eat fatty fish or pistachios or bananas or potatoes with skin. Those all have great B6. Another supplement you could take is B12, and B12 helps regulate your circadian rhythm. It's found in like milk and cheese, clams, sardines, tuna, eggs. So that's one of the things that you can try to supplement. Magnesium glycinate also shows up in the body of science. There's over like 30 magnesium, so please be careful that it is the glycinate. Glycinate supports GABA, which reduces kind of neuromuscular excitability. It kind of calms the brain down. It doesn't induce sleep, but it calms the brain. And some of the things that you could eat if you don't want to take magnesium glycinate in a pill form would be avocados or pumpkin seeds, whole grains, almonds, black beans, dark chocolate also has wonderful magnesium glycinate in it. But be careful because there are so many different magnesiums out there, and a lot of them can cause GI upset or can cause, the relaxing of the bowels. So be careful with that. And then what other things do I want to talk about? L-theanine. So L-theanine is best, according to science, for people who have kind of anxious thoughts at bedtime. It increases your alpha waves. It does not initiate sleep. It does not knock you out. It helps the brain kind of stop fighting sleep. Okay. And, L-theanine has also got some research behind it about how it helps make dopamine in your body. You want to make sure you're taking at least 200 milligrams. But they say that people with ADHD, which is like that searching for dopamine, L-theanine can help you produce more dopamine. So that's a little side helpfulness. And then the last one I want to talk about is ashwagandha. If you have a difficulty staying asleep, ashwagandha works on reducing cortisol. You need to make sure that you take at least 600 milligrams of the ashwagandha. And so those are kind of the overview of what the physicians and myself have discovered in our research, and also with my own trials and testing. Those things have helped me as well. And I think we're getting down to time, and I want to be able to answer some questions. And I know I went through that material so quickly. I did put my email up if you've got some direct questions that you want to reach out to me. But yeah, I think we've got a couple minutes, if that's okay, Jamie. I would love to be able to answer any questions that people have. Hopefully that was helpful, and you guys have learned something to put in your pocket to help your sleep.
So, Michelle, thank you so much. This was wonderful. I will tell you, I learned so much. We have lots of questions. So
Okay,
I will start. I think these are like kind of like quick questions. So should I
sure.
take B6 or B12 before bed?
Well, it kind of depends what your issue is, right? And so if you're looking if your problem is that you don't feel tired, that is B6. If you want to regulate your circadian rhythm, that's more of a B12. But I will tell you that most vitamins, it's like a B combo pack. You usually find like B6 with B12 and the other vitamins, you can find them. And so I personally just take a B, like a vitamin B that has B6, B12, and the other vitamins in it. So it's not going to hurt you. That's for sure.
Okay, so then the next question is somebody was asking, what about trazodone?
Trazodone, yeah, absolutely. There isn't anything that is scary about it. It is a help many people take, but yeah, there wasn't anything in the research that stood out like Ambien of like, you know, not being paralyzed anymore where you can do silly things.
Okay, so what other questions do you guys have? Now is a great time to ask. I know we're right at time, but just in case anyone has any other last minute questions.
I'm looking at the comments too, some great
Okay.
comments. I just love
So,
this.
so I know we are asked about would the copy of the slideshow be available? We do not send out the PowerPoint presentations. However, we do, this whole webinar has been recorded and is available through our YouTube channel. So if anybody is interested in taking a listen to it again or a look, you are welcome to go to Mental Health KC YouTube channel, and our webinar will be on there as recorded. Okay, so we have a lot of thank yous.
Oh,
Um,
good. I'm so glad. It's so much information, and I kind of have to jam pack it all in. So I never feel like I want to leave anything out. So I apologize if it was pretty quick paced.
and
Thank you for all
then
those.
just a lot of thank yous, great information. Um, and just in case you guys didn't see, I did put the certificate of attendance into the chat, and I will put it in there again. So in case you
And
want
just
to.
lastly, I'll be at the conference as well, and I'll be presenting this talk at the conference. So if you know somebody else that maybe would benefit, and I could be there to answer questions after the talk as well, please feel free to send them the link to sign up for the conference too, and come see me.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll stick around in case anybody has any kind of last minute questions, but we hope to see all of you at the conference, May 28th and 29th, Mental Health KC conference, and then at our next webinar. So next webinar will be on the fourth Thursday of this month. We hope to see you there. So thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.